Hi there folks, welcome back to my channel, and for this video I'm going to be doing something a wee bit different, and I'm thinking about possibly doing some more videos along kind of in a similar vein, because as with so many different people on so many different countries, Scotland is currently in lockdown. It was that we're not allowed to really travel anywhere. We're only allowed to travel if you have to go get supplies like medical supplies, food, or if you're a key worker. So as I am currently a key worker and I'm kind of working in a care home, I do still have to go into work. So at the moment I can't get out and go on wee adventures and shoot kind of videos for you out in kind of different parts of Scotland. But I do have a backlog of about 11 videos which I shot before the lockdown kind of came into force. So I will be continuing to post them on a regular basis. So I'm just kind of trying to shoot these wee extra videos to kind of supplement what I'm putting up on the channel. So what I'm planning on doing for these videos is looking at kind of some of the myths and legends and history of Scotland. So it could be maybe looking at the Loch Ness Monster, or maybe kind of looking at the history versus the legends of William Wallace, or that sort of stuff. If you have anything that you kind of want me to talk about in these videos, do leave a comment in the comment bar below and let me know what you think. I would kind of be really interested in hearing what you are all interested in me talking about. So I do hope that you enjoy this video and you enjoy the other videos that I'm going to be filming. So this video that I'm going to be talking about something that I'm not too sure how well known this story is outside Scotland. But it's kind of quite a gruesome one, so I'm going to put in a trigger warning just now. I will be talking a wee bit later on about execution. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I will be discussing the loss of body parts, and I will also be, and there is going to be I'm going to be touching on a wee bit on murder and cannibalism as well. So if you're not wanting to hear about anything like that, again, I'm not going to be going into too much gruesome detail, but just to let you know, it is going to be something I will be talking about and touching upon. So what I'm going to be talking about for this video is the story of Sawney Bean. And Sawney Bean is quite well known a story in Scotland. And essentially he was, according to the legend, according to the story, he was the patriarch of a fairly large, murderous, cannibalistic family down on the Ayrshire coast. And according to the story, Sawney Bean, his name, according to the story, was Alexander Bean, but he was known as Sawney. And he was from East Lothian. And he was supposed to follow his father into whatever line of work his father was in, but he decided that an honest day's labour wasn't for him, and he'd ended up marrying somebody called Black Agnes, or her real name was Agnes Douglas, but she was known as Black Agnes, and they ended up living in a cave on the Ayrshire coast between Girvan and Ballantrae. And as the story goes, they end up having a lot of kids, and a lot of the kids end up having incestuous relationships amongst each other, and end up having grandkids as well. And I think, according to the story, there end up being about 45 of them in total in this one cave. And how they managed to survive was that they would essentially attack, rob and kill travellers at night who were travelling through Ayrshire going from one place to the next. And what they would do is that they would rob whatever they could off the people they'd killed, and take the bodies back to the cave, where they would essentially butcher the remains. And some of the remains would be left in barrels and pickled. And whatever the remains they couldn't use, they just threw it into the sea, which then ended up being washed back onto the shore, where they were found by some of the locals. And the cave itself that the beans were staying in was only accessible at low tide. When the tide was in, the cave was totally blocked off. And initially, when these body parts and these remains were found, a lot of the locals were thinking, oh, it was people who'd maybe been attacked by predators. Because when the story was set, it was back in the 16th century. And I'm pretty sure at this time there were still wolves about in Scotland. I think that the last wolf was killed in 1700s. So there were still wolves in Scotland at this time, and that's what a lot of the locals initially thought, was people had been out travelling at night and had been attacked by predators, and this was all that was left of them. But then people started to become more suspicious. There were too many people dying, too many people going missing. And people started to suspect others of being responsible or be the ones who were behind these deaths. And it did actually end up with a number of innocent people being accused and being lynched by local mobs. And even some of the local landlords of the nearby pubs were being suspected of essentially killing and robbing travellers and then disposing of the remains. Because in a lot of cases, these landlords were the last people to have known to have seen the victims. So the landlords were being accused and suspected of killing these people in order to rob them. And that was until one night when a young couple were travelling home from a fair, and they were riding along together on the one horse. And that was when the Bean family attacked. And on this occasion, the young man apparently had some martial training and was actually able to hold the members of the Bean family who were attacking them off long enough. But in the scuffle, his wife got knocked to the ground. But before they were able to attack her and get hold of her, another group of fairgoers appeared around the corner on the roads, which startled the Beans and scared them off. So here were this young couple, who are still alive, who's, as far as we know, the only people to have survived being attacked by the Bean family. And the other fairgoers took them back to the local magistrate, who got told everything about what happened. So search parties were sent out in order to try and kind of find what was going on. And apparently somebody had noticed a cave on the coast, but hadn't thought anything of it. But this time, word got back to the king. And in the story, it's never mentioned who the king was. But it is presumed that the king in question was King James VI, who was the son of Mary, Queen of Scots. So he appears with a number of his men, a number of his soldiers, and they bring with them some bloodhounds. And they go out searching. And it's the bloodhounds that lead them straight to this cave that had been overlooked previously. And this is where the story kind of sort of diverts. There's two versions of how the story ends. The main one that people go with is that the Bean family were cornered but taken alive. And they were taken back to Edinburgh And once after they were taken back to Edinburgh, they were then either taken to Leith or to Glasgow, where they were executed without trial, because it was seen that they were essentially subhuman, especially after what was found in the cave. Because after the beans were taken, the cave was searched, and what they found were human remains hanging from the cave walls in barrels that were filled with pickled human remains. And there were also piles of jewellery and other items that had been robbed from the victims. So this was when it was realised that they weren't just killing and disposing of the remains after robbing their victims. They were cannibals as well. They were eating what they could of the remains, and then what was left was being preserved so they could eat later on. So they were seen as being, well, they couldn't be human. They couldn't do that and be human. So that's why, according to this version of the story, they were tried. No, they weren't even tried, they were just executed. And yeah, according to this version of the story, the executions were not pleasant at all. That the men essentially had their genitals cut off and thrown into fires that were burning nearby. And they had their hands and their feet removed, just cut off. And they were left to bleed to death. And this is while the women from the family watched. And apparently, once the men were dead, the women and the children from the Bean family were tied to stakes and burned alive. That is one version of how the story ended. Another version says that when the king's men found the Bean family in the cave, gunpowder was laid in the mouth of the cave itself, with the Bean family still inside. The explosives were set off for making the mouth of the cave collapse, trapping the beans inside, and they were left to essentially slowly suffocate and die in their cave. And apparently, as the story goes, one of Sawney Bean's daughters had previously left the cave and made her home in the town of Girvan. But after word had gotten out about what the Bean family had been doing, and it was realised that she was one of the Beans herself, the local people essentially got hold of her and dragged her to a tree that she planted herself many years before, and essentially used the tree as a gallows, hanging her from one of the tree branches. So again, a very dark, gruesome story, which kind of, for a lot of Scottish mythology and Scottish legends, there does seem to be a very strong element of morbidity. There's quite a strong level of it being kind of quite morbid and quite dark. But yeah, again, it's like that's kind of thing. That's one thing that could probably be discussed and debated of why Scottish mythology tends to be so dark and so gruesome, which could probably be quite an interesting topic. But a lot of historians have actually been discussing and looking at the story of Sawney Bean, and a lot of them seem to be in agreement. If there's no written record of any of the story taking place, a lot of it just does seem to be myth and legend, because there also seems to be kind of stories from the 15th and 14th centuries that have similarities to the story of Sawney Bean. So whether there was someone in the Ayrshire area who was killing people, and the story's just been embellished and grew and it took on elements of other stories, we don't know. Again, this could be something that could be looked into further. And it's probably something, yeah, you never know. Yeah, it's just one of those kind of really kind of dark, fascinating stories that I just kind of, I was, again, being a writer, I just kind of seem to be kind of drawn to a lot of these kind of dark stories. I just find them fascinating. And I know I'm not the only one, because I know there's been quite a few movies that have been based on the story of Sawney Bean. I think probably the most famous was the movie The Hills Have Eyes, which, again, even though it was set in America, it was very much kind of loosely based on the whole story of Sawney Bean. So I really hope you enjoyed me talking about this story, and I will be doing some more research and trying to kind of do some more videos like this, and hopefully you all enjoy. Again, if you have any suggestions, if you have any ideas of topics that you think I should be looking at, please leave your comments in the description bar below. I really love hearing what you all have to say, and yeah, hopefully you all enjoyed this. I'll stop rambling on just now, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye bye.